Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hello. Today I want to talk about career gaps. The idea of having a gap in your career makes so many people nervous. And, the truth is that it is a red flag for readers, unfortunately. And what I have seen is that whether people have left the market by choice, maybe they left to go take care of kids, or maybe they took a sabbatical, they needed to, or maybe they got laid off and had some paid severance and some time to sort of figure out next move, or they did elder care. More often than not, they were anything but idle. So I want to talk through 3 different activities that a lot of times people don't think about, and how you can take those activities, translate them into career speak, and include them in a way that's powerful on your resume and on your LinkedIn. And then at the end, I want to talk about a formatting technique that you can use. So I work with a lot of people that have kids, and when they left the workforce, either due to downsizing or going to take care of them to save some child care costs, while they were also doing that, they were also volunteering, coaching, scout, church activities, schools, you name it, they were doing it. So what I encourage my clients that are in those situations to do is to think about what they achieved in those volunteer efforts. Were you part of an event in PTA and you raised, $2,000 for your child's school? Last year, your school raised $2,000. Think about how you created a plan, how you executed it, calculate the increase from the year before, and include it. That can be super powerful. For instance, if you are trying to go back into sales. Let's say that you're a project manager and you volunteered, but you took what was once a very manual or sort of labor-intensive process and made it easier. Maybe you created a spreadsheet to track a bunch of stuff where before someone had it on, pieces of paper or in some god-awful folder. If you added a level of organization that never existed before, in essence, you have created automation or efficiencies. And if you can quantify the time saved, you have a tangible, measurable achievement that parlays very well for people in operations or project management. Let's say you want to target a role in new training or education, and you spent time coaching a team, leading a scout troop. Can you see that I'm sort of thinking back on things that I did during my career gaps? And actually some of these I'm doing even now while I'm working. In essence, you developed a curriculum that takes into account learning principles that align with a company or organizational standards. So sort of see what I'm doing there. I'm taking activities that you might not think twice of, thinking about the achievements and translating them into a way that aligns well with your career aspirations. Along those same lines, even though maybe not formal volunteering, a lot of people do what I call expert acts of kindness. And this is where they help out friends in need without giving it a second thought and using their career expertise to help their friend. Let's say that you have a finance background and you help someone to organize your friend's small business bookkeeping, or reconcile some accounts, or help them with their taxes. That stuff counts. For myself, as an example, when my kids were still in diapers, I took, lots of blocks of time off from paid work. But during that period, I helped people with friends. I helped friends on projects that required my writing expertise. So I wrote copy for their websites. I wrote press releases. I wrote brochures. Sometimes I crafted some email campaigns. It was all unpaid. I really didn't think of it as volunteer work, but when reflecting back and showing this type of work on my resume, it showed employers that I had kept my skills current. And more importantly, it helped to close my career gap. Another reason that a lot of people have a gap is because they have decided to go back to school. I know a lot of people that, maybe think initially they're going to do paid work and do graduate school at the same time, but it just gets to be overwhelming. So they bite the bullet, they make the investment, and they take 3 semesters off to go back to school. In those situations, I recommend you list your education above your experience section. So you're going to make sure to include the degree, the institution, your GPA, especially if it's above 3.5, and think about what else you did as part of that study. Include names of courses, because course titles often align with job posting keywords. Think about internships you might have done, special assignments, group projects, case studies, papers that you were really proud of. Think about what stood out to you as part of your education, and highlight it, especially if it aligns with what you want to do next. The bottom line is you want to show that you have gained position and industry relevant insight. The other thing you want to do is you want to mention the fact that you have earned a graduate degree in XYZ study in the summary paragraph at the top. So I have showed how you can position expert acts of kindness and volunteer work, as well as your education into your resume to help mitigate a gap. The other thing I want to talk about is what if you were, the reason you needed to leave work was so time-consuming that you really could not do any of those other things. Elder care is something that is a perfect example. It's very time-intensive, very emotional. What I always recommend you do, and really you should do this regardless of whatever the reason is for your gap, is be upfront about why you took it. If you took some time off to take care of an elderly or an ailing parent, say that. And think about the skills that you acquired or used to help that person. So I know a lot of people who have taken time off to take care of aging parents or sick parents. The communications and project management skills that are involved in navigating the healthcare system, fighting with insurance companies to negotiate pricing, acting as an advocate and liaising between your parent and nurses and doctors and all of that, the research you need to do, all of those skills are very applicable across a lot of different careers. So think about them and be sure to include them. The last thing I want to point out want to show you is a formatting technique that is is something that I recommend when you're trying to camouflage an older gap. Maybe one that's just a few years back. So let's say you are currently employed now, and you had another job before that, but then you had like a 9-month gap in between other jobs. What I will do in those cases is rather than list your experience according to month and year, I will just put years. This is a common practice of a lot of resume writers use. And you could do it on LinkedIn as well. So as an example, let's say, trying to come up with some good dates, let's say that I worked from March 2016 to March 2017, and then I was laid off and didn't get another job again until, January of 2018. So essentially, I have a 10-month gap. What you can do to mitigate that is by lopping off the months and just including years, you essentially show that you worked from 2016 to 2017, and then your next job started in 2018. And to that quick skim reader, that gap suddenly just doesn't, it feels like a blip versus 10 months which would be obvious by including the months, which feels, much larger, feels like a whole year off. So I hope that helps you to sort of rethink and ease some of your fears around career gaps. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, via Franco-Resumes@gmail.com. Shoot me a LinkedIn, shoot me a text, 704-771-8572. That's it. Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's skim online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.